All right, so if you're new to the MPC, you want to check this video out. If you want to know how to chop samples on the MPC, I'm going to show you maybe all of the ways that you can chop samples on the MPC. Now, I'm not going to go in depth with all of these steps. I'm just going to show you, just so you are aware that you can chop samples this way or that way on the MPC. If you want a full detailed lengthy video about each individual method of chopping, you got to check out, you got to search YouTube for it. I might have some on these subjects, but not all of them. So if you do want more on these videos about chopping, how to chop samples, comment down below and I'll point you towards the exact video on my channel, or maybe I'll make a new video for you guys as well. So what I'm trying to do is just to let you be aware of the tools you have on the MPC to chop samples. I'm not going in depth on any of these, all right? All right, it's good to point out as well, whenever you sample something into the MPC, all samples end up in the sample pool or sample edit. That's the menu, sample edit. All samples, it doesn't matter if you sample it into one program, if you sample it into another program, if you record it into an audio track, all samples live in the sample edit menu. It's like this little pool of samples that is always there. So if you want to bring that sample into another program, you can. Samples are interchangeable from program to program. There's another thing in these samples as well, which I feel like is super cool, which is the slices. Whenever you add slices to a sample, these slices get baked into the audio file, especially if you save it or export it from the MPC. These slices will always be there. So I can add a slice to an audio file and then save the file, the audio file, bring it up at any point and the slices will be there. So slices, once you create slices on an audio file, these slices are always there, all right? And you can bring it up in any other program that you're working inside of the same project or in other projects as well. Another very important thing to know as well is non-destructive versus pad parameters. You're going to see me go through that in this video, but it's important for you to be aware of these two different slice types, all right? Search YouTube. It's very important that you know this, all right? They're a bit different from one another, and sometimes you might not be able to copy pads and do a different start point on the next pad because of this, because you're using non-destructive. Search the web. I'm not going to go in depth on any of these things. Search the web. This is just a video for you to be aware of all these methods and that they exist in the MPC, all right? Let's jump into it. I got the MPC 1 right here. That's where we're gonna be going through all these chopping methods. But of course, this is available on all MPCs, except the MPC sample. And you can do this on the Force as well, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let's jump into it. First one we're gonna talk about is the chopping on the sample. So you can sample and chop right from the sampler. You got slice right there. You got pad top, you got pad hold. These three are ways to chop samples as the audio comes into the MPC. So if I put something on, right, stop that. So we're slicing as we're sampling at the same time. That's one. We can create a program straight from here or not. So this is one of the interesting things of the MPC as well. Even though I didn't create a program, I did create some slices on the samples. All right, so let's just keep. All right, but you didn't drop anything on the program. What are you gonna do now? So if you notice, I can bring up that sample and I can bring up the slices as well. So you're chopping again, the same thing that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. Once you add slices to an audio file, right, the slices stay connected to that audio file as long as you open it up on the MPC, of course. Pad tap, that's another one. All right, same principle, same concept, tapping the pad to chop something. So if you tap a pad, it starts recording. Stop it, the recording still goes. So what's happening here is that you created a slice on that specific point of the audio file, and now there's no extra slice. Now if I go and start a new slice right here, stop the slice, the recording still keeps going, and create another one there. If I jump to another pad, it stops that slice, starts a new one. I'm stopping the slice, the audio keeps going. So here I can actually create a slice in whatever pad I want. Okay, so let me stop this. So what I've done is that now there's no pop-up window telling you that you need to create a program if you want or not. It actually gets baked in straight into the program. So if I go into the track, you'll notice that I have that slice right there. Where's the other one? The other one that started, the other one right there, the other one, I don't know where I created other slices. I thought I had created one. Okay, there's one right there. For some reason, it didn't actually. You can always adjust the start and end point. That's, of course, another thing. So that's pad tap. If we go in there, then we have pad hold, which is exactly the same thing as pad tap, but instead of tapping it, you have to hold it for it to create a slice in the file. If you release it, it stops the slice. The audio keeps going, recording. Now, if I stop that, go into the program, notice that there's a slice right there. Okay, I tapped that like that. And then the audio kept going after it. So this is still the recording, right? I can always adjust the start and end point if I want straight from here. So that goes straight into the program. So it's a great way for you to sample straight into a pad. So this was chopping on the sample edit page on the sampler. Okay, let's go into chopping in the program. So I want to load up a sample. Let me see if I have a sample right here. Let's load this up. So I've loaded an entire sample into one of these pads, and I'm going to chop in the program. So I'm going to go into the program, into the track program. Okay, this is my sample. I've sliced something. What I did was basically just adjusting the start and end point on my sample, and I'm going to copy it. So now I'm going to copy the pad. I've copied it, and now I'm adjusting the start and end point of that sample. Copy it, adjusting the start and end. So I'm effectively slicing the sample into different pads straight from the program. All right, I can copy this to whatever pad I want, of course, right there, a new start and end point. And that's how you slice inside of the program. Notice that I'm always using pad slice and I'm not using non-destructive, all right? This is essential for this type of slicing mode. Be on the pad. You can slice it in non-destructive, but it's different. Okay, so right now I'm going to use the same sample, but I'm going to go into the sample edit screen. I'm going to use the trim window. There's another way of chopping samples here as well. Let's say I'm searching for samples inside of the file, right? All right. And this is actually audio that I've created. So I can assign now. I have the assign button right there, and I can assign the slice, or I can create a new sample from the audio file. What that does is it extracts just that portion of the slice and creates a new file. Okay, so I say do it. If I go into the track, notice that I've created just a new file just with a slice. Now, it's up to you whether you want to do it with the slices or the new sample thing. It's up to you. But you are creating a new file, meaning that you are, adding more, taking a bit more of the RAM away from the project. And I could keep going like this, assigning slices or assigning a new sample. Do it, adjust that, assign, put it on another pad. So this is another way of slicing, of chopping as well. So you go manually, go assigning start and end points into your pads. I use this a lot. Okay, another way of chopping is still in the sample edit screen. We go and we have manual. So I'm going to just shift and clear all. I'm going to clear all the slices that I might have on the file, and I'm going to chop manually. And it goes sequentially from one file, from one pad after the other. Okay, like that. So this, of course, makes more sense if you're doing like a drum loop or something like that and you're hitting it on the ones and twos maybe. Go into the shift and convert. On this window right here, we have create a new drum track using the slices, create new samples in the new track, which means as well a drum track with new samples, right? So what that does is that it creates, from all these different slices that I created, it creates new files. So whenever it says create new samples, it's saying create new files from the slices that you created. One thing, our slices, right? This is a slice that number 11 is a slice. Now you can extract that into a new file, and that means create a new sample, or you can just keep the slice. So if you assign slices, it's not creating new files. It's basically assigning the slice to the pad that you want. So convert, let's say I want to create a new track using the slices, the sample type right there, create events if you want. I'm not going to get into that, say do it. So I've created a new track right there, and these are my slices. All right there. If I had created new samples, you would have just had this, which I can show you right here. This is a flatten the pad. So if I had created new samples, you would have seen this, just a slice, just a new sample extracted from the slice. All right, so this is another way. Let's keep going. Then we got threshold. Of course, threshold, it works. Let me get into this, maybe right here. Let's use this. We're going to go in through threshold, and it creates slices through the peaks, the volume peaks of the file. All right. So if I change, like this would be like the sensitivity of it, the threshold. If I bring it down, it's going to create more slices. If I bring it up, it's going to create less slices. So that's kind of like the threshold of the volume. So sensitivity wise, if you go below 50, it gives you more sensitivity. Sorry, if you're on one of these slices right here, you can go convert and just extract the slice. So create new samples or crop sample or new drum track. If you double tap that, it says assign slice to pad. You got all these options to convert, whether just one slice or all the slices into a new drum track. And you can create patch phrases as well. We're going to get into that. So you can create a new drum track with all the slices, create new samples without creating a drum track, or with a new drum track. You can create an audio track from the samples as well. And you got all these options. All right, so this is another way, the threshold. We got the regions. Basically, it divides. Let me clear all this, clear all the slices, all right? Bring that to the beginning. So regions is just going to tell you how many regions you want. It's going to divide it evenly. It's going to divide the audio file evenly with the amount of slices you want. Let's say I want 2, right there, 4, right there. So they're all the same size, all right? And then you do the same thing, shift, convert, and whatever you want is straight from this drop-down menu right here. Pick it, all right? Cancel. Then we got the BPM. And of course, the BPM is more geared towards loops and stuff like that, I would say. You got to say how many bars the loop has, 1 bar, 2 bars, 4 bars, and then it divides it evenly, all right? Or you can always adjust these slices as well on any of these other menus. You can always adjust the slices. Once you get the slices in there, you do the same thing. You go into the process, sorry, cancel that. Go into the convert, and you can assign the slices to a new drum track. You can also create events, and if you do that, you have to say how many bars are in there, just the same way you said that, right? So you're going to go and convert. You say, oh, okay, that's a 1 bar loop that I have right there. Do you want to create events? Yes, I do. Destination clip arrangement, it's going to the arrangement, which is the sequence basically, and say do it. So we go into the main, let's go into the grid, and it dropped all that into 1 bar. So all the slices were dropped into the sequence. And if it was 2 bars, it would have divided all these slices into 2 bars, right? So the last one I want to talk about is, of course, you can slice things in the audio tracks. Browse a sample. Let's go into our samples. Okay, do it. This is our sample, and so now we're in the audio track, right? So I can just start slicing straight from here as well. This is another way of slicing, And then you can, of course, delete this and drag this wherever you want. You can adjust the start and end point. Of course, this is maybe not what you're looking for, but I decided to point it out. Of course, you have audio tracks and you can slice. You got your scissor right there. You got your cutting points. Nudge it wherever you want it to go. And it's just another way of grabbing samples and just moving them around. That was the video. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you got something out of the video. And if you got any questions, write them down below. And I'll see you on the next one. All right, take care. Have a great day. Bye.